Stella here and welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a super exciting video for you. I am filming my regular Autism in Company vlog with the lovely Roz.
Hello.
Who you all know. But we're also excited to be joined by the awesome Rob.
Hello.
So Rob has a blog that is called
An Autistic's View.
An Autistic's View, where he writes regular blog posts and has also recently started to make videos, and I recommend that you all go and check that out because it's really good. So I'll put a link in the description box below, and as soon as you've watched this whole video, go straight there and look at that. But today we are all gathered here because we had been discussing kind of online and together that it's a really common thing for people on the autistic spectrum to experience digestive issues. This is a kind of well-known link. And since the three of us all have an issue with digestive issues, we thought that that would be a good topic today, if you can stomach it. That was actually Rob's joke, but you know.
You can have it though.
I'll have it, yeah.
No worries.
So where are we going to start with that today?
We're going to start with restrictive eating and sensory issues, which is a really common thing in children and adults with autism, is to have a specific diet of things that they'll eat. When I was younger, I had a list on the fridge of the things that I would eat, which changed and I updated it. And then my family would like put a meal in front of me and they would go, "It's on your list though," and I was like, "Not anymore, not this week."
And I pretty much lived on cheese and Branston pickle sandwiches for quite a large part of my childhood, and then Nutri-Grain bars and pot noodles when I was an adult, until I met Mr. Purple, who told me I should probably expand my diet. And you were saying...
it's custard creams and sort of chips and any sort of biscuit really, and that was about it really. I'm surprised I'm here.
I think there's quite a common thing with autistic people in kind of yellow or beige food.
Mm.
Yeah, which is weird because now it's like I need green. So I won't eat a meal if it hasn't hardly got any green on it. So
yeah.
I've gone the other way as I've got older, which is strange.
So, but I found a study, which I'm excited. I found a whole bunch of studies for you today, but I found a study from the Missouri School of Medicine where they studied 75 autistic individuals aged 5 to 18 using a questionnaire where the parents would report the digestive issue symptoms and their diet over the course of a month. And they also did 2 stress tests on the children to measure cortisol levels, and their findings were that dietary composition does not appear to be a driving factor between the stress response and between gastro function. So everybody out there who kind of thinks, oh well, autistic people have digestive issues because they don't
have
eat
a restrictive diet, they don't eat good food.
Well, I also had it confirmed I saw a gastrologist for my digestive issues, and that was one of the things that worried me, because I thought all the problems I'm having now were because I didn't eat very well when I was younger, but he said there's no correlation to that at all, so that kind of just backs up that study.
So it is not because we don't eat properly. In your face. Am I right?
Yeah.
So, in fact, what we're going to talk about next, Rob,
is stress and digestion, because the two are very, very sort of linked. And one of the things I did, I should say that IBS is my sort of main thing. I also have diverticular disease. But when I was trying to figure out if they were like trigger foods and things sort of making me feel sort of ill, I did a spreadsheet and I compared loads of information, what I was eating, how much fibre, consistency of my stool, various things like that. And the biggest thing I recorded that had a pattern was stress. So whenever I had sort of diarrhea or constipation or something wrong with my stomach, it always seemed to correlate with a stress issue, and I think that's common.
Yeah.
would you say
I've definitely
you've got
had the same issues, and sometimes I don't know I'm stressed, but I've now started going, if I've got gut issues, okay, I think I'm stressed, and then I look at my life and go, what might I be stressed about? Because you know, with the alexithymia, which me and Ella have discussed before, it's really hard to recognise my own emotions, and so now I go, oh, gut issues are a real sign that I'm stressed.
So actually almost like, leading you to the conclusion that you're stressed. That's interesting. So I found another study, because I love studies, because they're very exciting. This is really exciting. I can't stress how exciting it is.
We're all very excited.
From the Columbia University Medical Center. Now, they had been studying mice that they had, I guess, bred to have the same genetic mutation which is being discovered in some people on the autistic spectrum. So this genetic mutation appears to lead to some of the behavioural and social characteristics of autism. The mice were, watching Doctor Who rather than hanging out with people, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, the mice were being a bit autistic, and they, through this, also ended up doing this second study. Now, serotonin is happy chemical.
Yeah.
And a lot of us believe that serotonin is just in our brains, but actually only 5% of the body's serotonin neurons are in the brain, and the remaining 95% are mostly in the gut. So they discovered that this genetic mutation has an impact on the serotonin neurons, and that there were fewer serotonin neurons in the gut than there would be in a typically developing mouse, and that this caused a poorly maintained gut lining and slower movement of gut contents, and that this happened in baby mice right through to like old age pensioner mice who were going to old age pensioner mice clubs. So what that means is that these mice were very, very constipated, which is my main gut related issue. So where we would naturally normally assume that stress causes gut issues because of some external things that are going on that are stressing us out, or because of our natural tendency to high anxiety levels, actually the gut issues could be leading to the brain issues. It's like a whole circular thing. It's not one or the other.
Yeah, and that kind of fits in with modern thinking. There's a lot of new research being done so that there's like a feedback system between the brain and the gut. So if the brain's not happy, and the gut's unlikely to be happy, and vice versa. So I think that's quite a common thing that more and more studies are showing.
So this would indicate, I guess, that autistic people need to keep their brains and their bellies happy.
Yeah, definitely. And the two can work together.
Yeah. I also found another study. Now, I don't think anyone here has a diagnosis of IBD, which is sort of Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. However, apparently, a study of electronic medical records of 300,000 autistic children in the United States actually revealed that children with autism are 67% more likely to have an IBD diagnosis. And that's all I have to say about that.
I think that just goes to show again the link between like autism and gut issues, and how much gut issues can affect your everyday life that we've found. And it can be something serious, and it can be something that you have to take medication for, or it can be something you manage yourself and manage with doctor's advice.
So there can be a whole range of different... I guess that's sort of making us believe that, like Rob was saying, you've got diverticular...
I have diverticular disease, which I think I perhaps ought to explain what that is.
Would you like to explain that?
Basically, it's... If you imagine the stomach is sort of like the tube from mouth to the other end, and if you think of it as a straight tube, well, diverticular are pouches that form within the sort of the gut. I mean, if you want to see some really interesting pictures, Google it, because there are pictures of it online.
I'm so doing that later.
Yeah, to be fair, I know you talked about bum cam when you had it. The first one that I ever had, they actually gave me a picture.
Did they? Like when you go for a scan of your baby,
yeah,
but
only a picture of the insides of my...
Did you put it on Facebook?
I haven't, no.
Oh.
And everyone that I've ever showed it is kind of a bit grossed out by it.
Why have you shown me this?
But it's good because you can turn it on its side and photograph the Enterprise going into it and things like that. So it was worth having. But going back, so the pouches in the sort of stomach, and to be honest, most people get them when they get older, so it's sort of like 60s or 70s, that kind of age. I got mine at 21, which I think's unfair.
Yeah.
To be honest.
That isn't
frankly
fair.
rude.
Rude.
Yeah.
Rude of your your bowels.
Yeah, so
what does that mean in terms of symptoms generally?
Well, as long as the problem with the pouches is if anything gets stuck in there. So if you get some sort of bit of food that gets stuck in there, gets infected, and it can be quite serious because it can actually lead to your stomach bursting and peritonitis and all that. So don't look alarmed, it's okay. But you get symptoms, so you get sort of like obviously abdominal pain, which tends to be sort of on the left-hand side. I think watch what's left and right then. It's on the left-hand side, and you get sort of like flu-like symptoms, and the worst thing is sort of like you get like a temperature and fever. So if you have those sort of symptoms, and you can also get bleeding, which is obviously always alarming if you get bleeding. And just as a side note, if you get bleeding from sort of the bum,
your bum,
then go and see a doctor, because obviously it can be more serious things, but it can also be less serious things, but you just need to get it checked out.
Yeah.
So they're the sort of the symptoms, and you get flare-ups of it. And the way it's a manageable condition, so high fibre diet, etc. As long as you've got everything going through, okay, it's fine. I think the worst one, just as a side, I did have a flare-up of it a few years ago where I had a fever, where my wife was saying that I was actually trying to get into a hidden room in our house. I was that delirious. And I don't know if it's because I've been watching Harry Potter or something, the room of requirement, but it really is unpleasant. It does take it out of you for a few weeks. But again, like I say, it is manageable. It is a manageable condition.
Rob has this diagnosis of diverticulitis, and you also have kind of just general IBS.
IBS, yeah.
And then on the other hand, this leading us nicely onto our next point, Roz has
joint hypermobility syndrome. With hypermobile joints, you wouldn't think that also affects your gut as well, because it means that basically the connective tissue and collagen is weaker, and that kind of stuff holds up all your digestive system as well. And so I have a small hiatal hernia, which I had a camera down the throat. That was fun. And they were like, yeah, but it's not really causing any issues at this point. And I was like, okay, you've just told me I've got something, but
actually the hiatal hernia would probably be related to the hypermobility.
Yeah, related to the hypermobility, because it's the loose collagen. You're more likely to get hernias and prolapse. And basically what they say, you're more likely to have IBS and acid refluxy stuff, which I had a real problem with for a while. That was why I had the camera down my throat. And kind of I discovered that slow breathing helped my acid reflux, which was really frustrating because for months I'd been really miserable, getting awful things like food coming up my esophagus, and just actually like setting my shoulders back when I start to get the acid reflux like symptoms, and then slowly doing that like again and again would really help, which was really annoying to me because it was such a simple thing, and I was like, why is it that just steady breathing, why did I not do this at the beginning? Why have I had months of hell when just steady breathing really like
Where did
makes
you find
a
that out?
difference?
Was that from the NHS tell you to do that, or
No.
was it something you found out yourself?
I just decided to start doing it.
Right, okay.
And like my gut issues, I think, well, my like acid reflux are quite linked with my anxiety, I find, and I think that's because like that's when your stomach like starts contracting. That's when you're like everything gets a bit, as we've said, with cortisol levels increase, like your digestive system gets a bit inflamed, and then your body starts wanting to like get things out, and like just slowly and steadily breathing and being like calming yourself down helps those symptoms.
I think that's the thing, sort of like diverticulitis and my conditions, IBS and everything. You then, if you start worrying about it, like you say, you then start to, that kind of makes the symptoms worse. And I know sometimes it's hard not to worry about it, but when it's kind of, it becomes a vicious circle. And I think that sounds similar to what you were saying, Ross. Really.
Yeah, I definitely think that anxiety leads you to feeling worse, and then your symptoms being worse, and then you worry more because your symptoms are worse. And it just is a whole wonderful cycle.
So exploring these kinds of things, obviously two kind of different diagnoses. I mean, as for my gut issues, I have no idea what's going on with that. I have an ME diagnosis, which can have a higher incidence of IBS. I have had a bum cam, but because when I had my bum cam, the NHS in all its I don't want to diss the NHS, but it can be tricky to navigate the system. And I was actually referred for a full colonoscopy, but then when I got to the place, they decided to do a sigmoidoscopy. So I have pain on my right-hand side, and they looked at the left-hand side. I've had also a CT scan of that area, and after having that, they recommended that I should have a full colonoscopy. But having been through bum cam once, I wasn't really prepared to go through it a second time without someone who's actually a gastroenterologist telling me to do so. So where I'm at is waiting on, I've got an appointment at the end of January with an actual gastroenterologist who I'm hoping will be able to give me some answers. But it might be that at the end of all this, I end up with an IBS diagnosis. I'm also kind of querying whether there's any Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or it's not ether, is it? Esler? The EDS.
We'll put it in the description.
We'll put it, yeah, or some hypermobility or something like that. But basically, I don't know what's going on. But the point is three kind of quite different reasons for digestive issues. So it's not as if we can sit here and say, if you're autistic and you have digestive issues, this is what you need to do. Nonetheless, we're going to have a go. I wanted to say that whatever the cause of your digestive issues, drinking a reasonable amount of water every day is a good plan. You were saying you drink.
Yeah. Water.
Yeah.
Not alcohol.
Drunk already. No, you were saying you drink a specific amount each day.
I try and drink 2 litres a day and of just water, and then on sort of the side I'll have peppermint teas or, a pint of squash or something like that. But I try and make sure that I've got that 2 litre in, and yeah, it helps definitely.
And I think sometimes with autism and executive functioning difficulties associated with that, actually remembering to drink can be an issue. So what I do is I've got a purple, obviously, chili bottle because it keeps water cold and I need my water to be cold, and I just make sure that I drink 4 of those a day. Having like a system where you know that you're drinking a certain amount each day by measuring it can be a little bit easier, because we just get stuck into our hyper focus on something and kind of forget that we should be,
that happens quite a bit to me. I'll take a bottle to work, and the intention is to drink it throughout the day, and it'll get to sort of like 2 o'clock and oh, hang on, I ain't done my water yet, and then
So
I think I'd like to say that it doesn't have to be water. I find squash much easier to drink.
Yeah.
Because I find if I've got water, especially if it's been sat there for a while, like I said, probably a chili bottle would help. But also you can just make it squash. You can have it tea.
Unicorn milk.
Any way of drinking water.
What?
Unicorn milk.
Or
unicorn milk.
The
liquid.
milk of a unicorn. Unicorn milk.
No, I don't.
That would work too.
Yeah. Whatever you want to be drinking. Me and Robert both read this book called Gut. And what she really recommended was using a stool when you go to the loo, because that helps your colon get in the right position. And it's one of the reasons why people in India have much better digestive systems, because they squat down.
Keep going.
So having a little stool in your bathroom that you can put your legs on and sit like that. I also find if you're in a different bathroom, often there's a little bin and you can use that instead.
Good tip. And if you want a real laugh, go on YouTube and look up unicorn poo stool. That's all I'm going to say. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do.
That's all I'm going to say.
I don't.
You're going to do it later though, right?
Oh yeah. Another tip that I find is movement and massage. So if I'm having digestive problems, it's going to sound really strange, but rubbing my belly and just sort of massaging that area helps. And it also helps with, say, constipation and things like that. Just that kind of movement. And likewise, it's also important to get a lot of exercise. So when I have digestive problems, sometimes just walking around the room can help things to balance themselves out. But sort of daily walking, etc., and things like that, just gentle exercise on the stomach during times where you're having a flare-up of IBS or whatever can be a massive help.
And if that's not possible, because like me, you can't walk daily, even just, I like to do old age pensioner yoga, which again you can find on YouTube, which is really gentle and really easy to do for me with a chronic illness, but still gets that kind of same effect.
I think I've even done a specific gut yoga before. I think
probably is
Adrian has one.
Adrian, yoga with Adrian. We love Adrian. Adrian's great, and she's probably got some digestion related yoga videos that you can have a go at. And then one of the things that Rob was saying when we were chatting and planning this video was the sort of trial and error approach.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you've got a digestive problem, it's a very personal thing, and what works for one person won't work for another person. So it's a case of just trying things. I mean, I use a probiotic. I also take turmeric, and I have a very specific diet of eating the same things. And I know that works for me, and if I do that regularly, I'm going to be okay. But I also know that doesn't work for other people, because I've mentioned it to people, and I think I even mentioned to you a while back.
I did start taking turmeric.
Turmeric. Did it help?
I don't know. I've only been taking it. We got it in London when I was up talking at the conference. So I've only started taking it a week and a half ago.
But you see, again, this is a good point, because you need to try things for a period of time. The stomach takes a while to sort of sort itself out. So if you are going to try something, you need to do it over a period of time.
And maybe not trying too many things at once, because then you wouldn't know what helped.
Yeah. So I went through it. To be honest, I think I only sort of got my balance right in the last sort of 2 years. And I know I don't look it, but I'm 40 now. So it's took me from 20 to 40 to figure it all out. So don't be afraid to try things and experiment and see what works basically for you.
Yeah. So what would you say about? Do you have anything to say about that, Roz?
Yeah. So I'd say like don't put pressure on yourself to like do. I had a big thing with cutting out gluten and dairy, and I tried to do them both at the same time, which made me very stressed and sad, which then affected my gut. And then I was like, okay, just cut out gluten and just try it for a few months and try and do it very low pressure. So one of the things I did was I always had gluten-free biscuits with me at all times. So whenever I wanted to eat gluten, I'd just go, well, I've got some biscuits, I'll just have some biscuits instead.
And I benefited from that too.
Yeah. But remembering, like, especially with the link with stress and gut issues, if you're stressed by doing something like completely changing your diet or like trying to put in loads of different things at once,
Or trying to overly research the problem.
you're going to end up affecting your digestive system and putting pressure on yourself that you don't need. So do what feels right to you at the time, and remember, you're enough.
You are enough.
Yeah, and I think I would just want to add something as well. Obviously, these certain people have trigger foods, so things that they eat that then upsets them. And the worst thing in the world is basically when your trigger food is your favourite food. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, these things, I react sometimes to certain spicy foods, but that doesn't mean that I'm never going to eat them. All it means is I'm going to pick a weekend where I've got nothing on and I'm going to enjoy that spicy food and then suffer the consequences. So you don't have to cut everything out completely. It just means that you might not be able to eat that particular type of food all the time, sort of thing.
That's a really good point, actually, because I've had to cut out gluten and I now found that I actually react physically to gluten, so I can't eat it anymore. And I also similarly can't eat spicy foods, and I really love a good curry.
Yes.
So that's really disappointing, and I hadn't really thought about it like that. That I could sort of have a weekend where I'm not going to do anything anyway, so
I'm having a curry. I'm treating myself because
Yeah.
it's why shouldn't you not enjoy it once in a while? And it's up to you whether you want to have the bad experience afterwards or not, but sometimes a curry is worth it.
I guess just like people would have a drink knowing they're going to have a hangover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, I've been advised to try cutting out dairy, but I just can't quite give up cheese.
Well, no one can.
No.
I mean, it's just the superfood, isn't it? I mean, people say that blueberries and antioxidants are superfood. I'm telling you, it's brie.
Definitely.
Definitely. And then we also talked about how all of the other strategies that we regularly talk about and that I regularly talk about on my videos to do with reducing anxiety levels and being rested when you're overstimulated, because when you're overstimulated you're more likely to have digestive issues, are also something that would contribute to hopefully having an easier time with those digestive issues.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So, I think that's probably everything we have to say about guts for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do give me a thumbs up. I think the button's just there. And share the video widely, because everybody wants to talk about bowels and hear about bowels. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and make me smile. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.